Hi everyone. God, I'm schwitzing here. We've got like 30 degrees right now here in UK, and it's supposed to get up to 32 by the late afternoon. I have absolutely no idea what's going on because apparently the heat wave started when I was away with Mason, and it's been going and going for about 3 weeks now with no rain in sight. So I'm going to do florals today. So anyways, I thought because it's so hot, yet I want to create some art, some floral illustration. I thought the easiest would be to go back to my doodling and actually finishing the 2 pages of my Jane Davenport canvas journal. So the brush I'm using today is the Silver Black Velvet 8, and the reason I'm not using my Jackson's quill brush in 10-0, excuse the dog's going mad, but I guess it's the heat. Yeah, so basically I forgot my Jackson's quill brush on my vacation, but it's not too bad because it's my parents' house, so it's not like it's lost forever. And once I'm back from the next vacation, then I will make sure to order that brush again. And yeah, so meanwhile I'm using this one, and this brush feels really precious to me, so it's nice to be able to use it for something as simple as doodling. So I'm using a variety of pinks here, and not really thinking too much of what I'm doing, just creating a kind of floral shape and darkening it up on one side, and yeah, just creating a little bit of a variety. Oh my god, the heat is just a madness. I mean, UK is not a country you want to experience heat because it's there is like hardly any breeze, and if you walk past a window, or in fact there is a window in front of my desk, the air or the wind that comes in, it's actually hot, so it's warmer than the inside air, and yeah, it just hits you with this warm air, which is quite unpleasant really, because you're already hot as it is. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of a prolonged heat wave in UK for that reason. So I'm going to go into the yellow just to break it up slightly, just for interest. And let's see, I think I usually don't do leaves, but I kind of feel today like creating just a few. Here and there. That should probably be it. And if I want a little bit of darker green, I can go into sub green and just dab it in some places, make it a little darker. This is a really lovely brush. If you don't mind spending a little bit of money, it's not too expensive, it's not one of those, you know, crazy expensive brushes, but it is more expensive than just a regular kind of cheapy a watercolor brush. So let's see, how is summer going for you? Are you doing any planning any vacation with your family? So yeah, I think in terms of flowers, that probably should be it. I feel like actually I do want to add that lovely, what's it called? Is it lavender? The Daniel Smith, yeah, lavender. Gorgeous flower. I like it for that type of like a hydrangea kind of flower. So I'm trying to mimic it here and there, and I will help myself with the doodling later on. And at the minute it just is a bit too much, so by too much I mean it's just a little bit too kind of you know, triangle-y. So I'll just try and break it up a little bit, just by creating maybe other flowers, maybe with a bit of pink into it actually, why not? So I'm going to take this pink and just dab it in, and that probably will create some sort of shade of lilac, and I'm not entirely sure what flower this would be, but I like it, why not? I'm just extending it a little bit, and doing art on a hot day is actually not as easy, because your mind is already quite you know, taken aside by the heat. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think at this point they're starting to become too much, so I'll probably stop here just in time before it gets you know, unsavable. But I'm just thinking actually these flowers, maybe they would be better off orange. Let me see if we create a bit of a mess here. Okay, so I'm just going to try loosen the whole thing up. Okay, so here I will then do the dabbing off technique of just lifting the excess color, and sometimes it gives a nice textural effect as well. So this is a little bit different from the usual doodling, just because usually I try to add all the details with the Muji 0.25. But I feel like here I kind of did a lot already, so I'm just going to loosely, first of all, try to doodle these flowers. I will zoom it in for you just a little so you can see what's happening as I go. I'm just going in and creating a little bit of detail, because essentially it's quite a loose illustration of flowers, and I don't want there to be too much detail, but I think sometimes just highlighting a few areas kind of brings it to the next level, really. So it's up to you whether you want to leave these bare or you want to doodle on top of them. I quite like the textural effect of doodling on top of these hydrangea flowers, but by all means do whatever you prefer. See, if I take this away, it looks so much better, doesn't it? So I wonder if I create some dark background around it, what would it look like in an attempt to try and cover it? Not something I do usually, but I feel like experimenting today. So let me just have a quick look. Okay, so for that color, or for this reason, I'm going to use this Core Quinacridone Magenta right here. It's a color that can get really dark and intense, a lot darker than on the swatch, if you really intensify. Okay, so I'm going to try and go around these flowers like that. Oh, I did cover this a little bit, which is, I think, alright. So that one with orange becomes something quite interesting here. Well, I'm just going to experiment. Here, when it's dry and it's not moving, all you need to do is just make sure you go in and then just move it out, and that would be it. And then you can go in with a darker color still, for example here where I'm attempting to cover it still on top and make it quite dark, like so, the darkest I can go, which you still kind of can see it. But I think what I would do is I would possibly doodle on top, if I can, and that is that. So I'm just going to also bring in a little bit of darkness around here, and this brush is good for that sort of looseness, that kind of effect. And then I'm going to, let me just zoom out a little bit, just soften the edges here, like so. And I think that looks rather nice, something quite different, but I need to do work here still. So what I'm gonna do is I will try to go in with that color again, just to make it the darkest I can, and in in between as well. I want it to be the darkest, quite contrasting. That's it. And now let me dry it and see what I can create here. So what I may do actually is possibly create like a little ball, I'm thinking, to hide this area right here. So I'm just loosely going to create a little sketch here, just to give myself a shape of that sort of ball. And then I would go in with like a grey or something, a color that's almost black. And I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm just going to go into Payne's Grey, which is the darkest color I have in my palette. So that serves the purpose of a black. If you load it up quite strongly. So I'm just going to loosely go around again, and that for sure will cover it. And you may think, gosh, it's starting to look like a mess, but you just need to make sure that the watercolor is fully dry. So the problem, or not the problem, but what you need to adjust to this brush is that it does take a huge amount of water. So for example here, where I need it to be quite pigmented, a lot of water is mixing and diluting the pigment, so I have to go back. So that's the difference between this brush and the Jackson's Quill, if you're interested. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how this is looking at the moment, so I'm just going to dry it once again and go over it in the attempt of the rescue. Okay, so at this point it's kind of translucent, and I think I actually like it that way. It sort of works with the background and you can see the pink come through as well, sort of quite foggy it's looking. So I'm just going to go back into that Payne's Grey and try to just darken up one side of it. I'm not going to try and darken the whole thing, just one side again, just to kind of suggest the light source coming in from the right, and that is it. So I'll probably go halfway like that. I don't want to have a too dark of a blob in there, and I'm just going to then soften this area right here. And that is it. Maybe just take it out a little bit more here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then I'm going to doodle around it just to finish it up and create some, maybe some gel pen details. Okay, so in this unbearable heat, it is obvious that my art mind is completely affected by it, because it's not my favorite piece, I'm afraid to say. But anyways, let's just go with it. I'm just going to doodle these dots and lines just to make it a little bit more whimsical, and it does work best on the darkest petals, so it comes out more. I don't think there is any point in putting them on the orange or the blue, so I'm going to leave it at that. And then over here I've got the ball, which is I'm not loving it. So what I will do is I will try to create this gold kind of effect on this side, just to resemble it to the rest of the piece, like that. And the best thing to do is just to step away and look whether you want to stop or whether you need to add in certain areas. I think I'm just going to take it up to here, and that probably should do. So this is actually I don't mind it now that much. I do like it actually a little bit more. Maybe just a few gold details like so on these flowers. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice, and just add a bit more detail doodling over here. So I'm just trying to doodle over it like so, just to finishing it off a little bit. So yeah, it's in general, what would happen if I would doodle with the white? It might be a bit too much. Let's just risk it. I mean, this piece is already not a masterpiece, so I'm not going to ruin anything, hopefully. So yeah, so basically I wouldn't say it's my favorite piece, but I think with a bit of doodling it came together, and it sort of is a nice kind of summery, colorful bowl or flower arrangement in a way. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and had fun if you did it along, and see you soon.